It's daybreak on the Rise News. Time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. This day, cash policy of the Christian Association of Nigeria. Others express concern over a plot to arrest the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele. They say selfish Nigerians want to create confusion in the country. Obaseki signs 321.4 billion naira 2023 appropriation bill into law. Buhari Gbajabiamila meet over rising election violence and dispute over cash policy. Now, the president says the federal government's generated $547 million from 5G spectrum auction. It's good news. And the federal government says a restoration of crude oil production underway. That report is on page 6.
All right, let's look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper reps order CBN to steer action. Banks are adamant. Lawmakers insist Emefiele must appear Thursday or send a deputy House Defense order to suspend policy, cite CBN Act and the Constitution. Banks ready for implementation. No counter directive, the spokesperson is saying. INEC just below those artifacts you're looking at on the front page. INEC needs 100,000 vehicles, 4,200 boats. This is coming from the INEC chairman, Yakubu. And then the president on the top mass, Buhari transmits finance bill. NAS passes budget on Thursday. Now below the 1,000. Germany begins return of 1,130 looted Bini bronzes. NFIU stops cash withdrawal from federal government states accounts. Let's go to the next paper.
The Nation. Tinubu unveils funding plan for infrastructure revolution. Governor's OK plan to sell off 5 power plants. And the Central Bank of Nigeria releases security features of new Naira notes. Doyin Okukpe quits as Obi's campaign director general. Shema Camp PDP leaders Sean Atiku's captain rally.
Ken did talk about that yesterday, and so I think he heard you in the spirit and responded. All right, Daily Sun newspaper. 2023 Tinubu Atiku Obi rave up campaigns. Visit Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Katsina, make mouth-watering promises. Labour Party, PCC, DG. Okay, well, that was what you just steps down. Oshutoku may take over. INEC to deploy a million. This is blood. Well, some vehicles that we just read before now. Crisis rocks NHF over government's withdrawal of 40% workers' contribution. And the desperate politicians after Emefiele, says PDP.
Other international papers, the Financial Times. Enough. The nurses are picketing. Health bosses in the UK cannot guarantee patient safety as the ambulance strike begins. And the media group shared $500 billion in value as shares head for historic declines.
Telegraph, the Daily Telegraph. Let's have it there. Unions have made conscious choice to inflict harm on patients, says Barclay.
The I paper says NHS strikes safety at risk as A&E units declare crisis.
Independent public told to avoid risks during ambulance strike. That would be the wise thing to do. All right, let's go to this day and invite Emmanuel Bello. Emmanuel, good morning. Glad to have you join us on Daybreak.
Good morning.
All right, this day, its front page is filled with so many stories that one doesn't know where to begin. Well, let's start from the beginning. Cash policy. Can others express concern over plot to arrest Emefiele? It has some riders. Let me just read one or two of them. Says selfish Nigerians want to create confusion in the country. Bullion van politicians after CBN, says Atiku Okowa campaign. Then this is quite interesting. I don't know whether you understand what that means. Money launderers, political bandits. I don't understand what political bandits means. Against redesigning of Naira, says Nan. And then Obi just below that, Obi, 8 presidential candidates should retire from politics. He should go to America and tell that to Biden too. Obaseki signs, well, but then Buhari, this is quite interesting. Buhari, FG generated $577 million from 5G spectrum auction. Then FG full restoration of crude oil production on the way. That's good news.
Yes, and there are other collections of good news in the front page of This Day, and it's a full package. It's almost as if you pick a copy of the This Day newspaper today, you really didn't need to pick any other paper again, because it has all the big stories there in there, especially this one on. It's still the Emefiele day. Yesterday we started with the Emefiele. That story broke at the week. I think early in the week, and then of course yesterday fleshed up, and now we are seeing more details to the Emefiele story. And I think the jury is out there on what to do with it. Some people saying that if the DSS was after Emefiele, they probably know one or two things, and that they will have done their due diligence. Yesterday, DSS also coming to its own defense, saying that look, we act professionally. We are not just swayed by all sort of sentiments in trying to pick Emefiele. But a lot of Nigerians say that look, you cannot extricate that situation from what we're all going through now, which is the new Naira notes, the redesigned monies, and then of course those cash withdrawals issue. A lot of Nigerians tying the Emefiele ordeal to it. PDP came out so strongly, even very clearly, short of mentioning names, saying that this is why Emefiele is being harassed, and that he was able to stop the bullion van and all that. But that's not also very fair of the PDP, because all parties use money in their campaigns, every political party. So if you're even blaming the parties and you're saying that it's politicians, it's bandits that are political bandits after this, then you need to know that, look, it's not just one party that uses money. You need campaign financing is such a huge money-based situation. You need money for adverts, you need money for all sorts of things. But of course, the vote buying aspect of it is what everyone is against, the idea of people selling their vote. But it's also instructive that only the PDP is actually out there talking about Emefiele. We're quite curious indeed that PDP is the only one doing the defense of Emefiele and saying that, look, don't go after him, don't touch him, and actually tying it to to what most Nigerians are saying, that the politicians are feeling the heat of those cash withdrawals, because it's going to, whether I like it or not, it's going to affect these elections in a very, very positive way, because for the first time, probably the power of bullion vans, like the PDP was putting it, which means bullion vans, the huge truck that is used in carrying those kind of huge money. We all remember the the bullion vans that were making the round in Lagos during the election the last time. So the insinuation here is that those kind of monies that are out there that you can deploy like a weapon on the day of elections are no longer there. That this redesign notes. The president himself supports this view that, look, we're doing the redesigning, we're doing the cash withdrawal limits to reduce the cash out there in the hands of unscrupulous people, and he was very clear about it, in the hands of politicians who would like to buy votes. And I think they call it out from day one that, look, it's about vote buying. This is all about it. So the fact that Emefiele is on the spot right now, it shows that, yes, the people feeling the pinch and the bite of this policy are not necessarily people like you and I, you and I, Kenneth. We don't need.
I'm not a politician.
Well, not. Yeah, but I mean, the president was very clear that, look, you and I don't need those kind of huge cash. We don't have them in the space anyway, in the spaces where politicians are keeping them. So that's why people believe that Emefiele's ordeal is tied to this. But the curious part of it is the fact that the DSS came out so strongly to say that, look, before we go against anyone like that, we must have done our... It's Emefiele. It doesn't look to me like somebody who will finance terrorism. I mean, I don't know. But we don't work in the secret services.
Well, they don't write it on
the faces exactly. So you begin to wonder if the DSS is saying that Emefiele actually supports and works for terror, and this is a man that wanted to be president one time, is something that I think we should listen to both sides of the story.
Well, still in this day, while we're mulling over that story, Obi says aged presidential candidates should retire from politics. But I mean, they're all rounding off their campaigns because Christmas is just days away. But we talked a lot about this yesterday, Emmanuel. The Director General of his presidential campaign council has quit. And how significant is this good way to go?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you were a betting man yesterday, Kenneth, you would have won the bet. Okay, well, it wasn't a bet really, but we actually talked about it here. We were wondering if he was going to take the high road, and do the right thing by resigning, and he did that. It's good for him. It's good that I didn't like the wordings of the letter. It was not, the letter wasn't contrite enough. He just sounded as if, look, I don't need any distraction. I didn't want a problem with your campaign.
No, he was talking. He was saying he didn't want to distract Obi.
Yeah, well, a resignation like that, I mean, he was convicted, wasn't he? And he actually, he's a convict, and he actually paid those money. I was expecting something a bit more contrite, more, more
apologetic.
Yes, more apologetic, rather than, look, okay, I just want to hands off because I don't want anything to happen to the campaign. I've worked enough for it, and because that's what the letter was saying. So I argued with some people yesterday that it should have been more apologetic, more contrite. There should have been some kind of show. So it's a sort of resignation we want to say in the political space. But it's a good thing, Kenneth, that we debated it yesterday, that look, our people don't resign. Better than, for instance, the other man who say he's not leaving. So who?
The PDP chairman?
Excuse me. No, don't bring that, because it's some camp.
I know you are going to come with that.
No, it's some camp that is saying he should resign. Why should he resign? Why should he leave?
You are right. It's probably not the same premise, but you see, we don't have a culture of people. But there's something instructive doing Okuke said, look, I don't want to affect the campaign. I don't want to do something that will affect the campaign. If you're the Jonah in the ship, to use that allusion, yes, I'm going spiritual.
You can jump out.
Yes, he understands. Exactly. So not jump out. Actually, offer yourself as a sacrificial lamb and say, look, I don't want to derail what we're doing here. And that's what Okupe will say essentially, which is actually for him some kind of redeeming quality to say, look, for the larger good, I am prepared to sacrifice myself. I'm prepared to ditch this ship so that there will be smooth sailing. It's good for the campaign, but of course, a lot of people, it leaves a bitter taste in the mouth that this is happening to the campaign this late in the campaign, because it's really, really crazy that the DG of a campaign could be caught in this kind of mess. For doing Okupe as a human being, I wonder how he's going to actually process that in his entire records, the kind of public record he's had. But Nigerians are very forgiving, I guess, and in time probably they will forget. But for the Obi campaign, this is I'm sure the issue right now will be who is going to be the new DG, and they don't. This will certainly slow down the tempo, in the Labour Party, especially being faced with this kind of crisis.
Okay, let's look at three stories in the front page of the Nation. It says Shema camped PDP leaders Sean Atiku's campaign in Raleigh. Governors okay plan to sell off 5 power plants, and CBN releases security features of new Naira notes.
Yeah, those features were a bit too tacky for most people, I would say. Again, that's part of the crisis.
Okay, you've seen the new Naira notes.
No. I mean, the efforts are trying to show the security codes and all that. Okay. They were trying to show how you could differentiate between. These are some of the kind of consumer buy-in, or rather the citizen buy-ins that CBN should have engaged in long time. That's why a lot of people talk about the timing, and that's some of the crisis. Now people are forced to be practically running while try to also deal with the crisis of understanding even the notes. If you're like me, Indy, who actually goes around to buy things on the street, you understand that people are actually a bit skeptical about these monies. Some people even practically rejecting them and saying that they don't really, these monies don't really look like the kind of monies they're used to seeing. So
that's always usually what happens when something is new.
Yeah, but that's why you needed time to actually do the sort of thing
that's
the buying, the sort of consumer education that you are trying to do now. You should have done it earlier so that people get used to it. The rally in Katsina yesterday, we saw the optics as usual, the same kind of crowd. I'm no longer a believer in the crowd effect, because I mean, everyone can pull a crowd, and what both sides try to do, or what the opposition try to do, is to discredit the crowd. And the Nation newspaper, of course, digging in its usual way to discredit anything PDP, say that talked about the people who shunned the rally and not those who attended. But of course, the PDP on their platforms were playing up the crowd and saying that this is happening in Buhari's, the President Buhari's backyard, and saying that PDP is having a good time playing in the president's backyard. That would be something if Atiku or the PDP is able to make inroads into what should be the headquarters of the APC, at least symbolically, because the president is from there.
All right, thank you so much. As Emmanuel Bello with the press preview. Yep, the press preview. Let's hear your view on all the burning issues. Follow us on Twitter at Arise TV. You can join today's conversation using the hashtag at Arise Day.